Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at a figure that I had actually had someone request from me to review for them, but unfortunately it's been kind of a while since they had requested it. I don't remember who it was exactly that did want to see this figure, so I apologize straight away to whoever you were that did want to see this, but this is the Bullyland Giganotosaurus, and he's quite interesting actually. I ended up, when the person had requested me to review this, I did not own it, so I went ahead and purchased it from Everything Dinosaur.com just to get a hold of it and see what it looked like in person. And it's kind of one of those figures from Bullyland that it's like, I don't really know how I feel about it. Some of their figures are really beautiful, and some of their figures are just not so nice. And this is kind of one of those in the middle, I think I would say, figures. The eyes are horribly painted, I will say that straight away, and I think because of the eyes being so sloppily painted, it really does take away from the figure quite a bit when it comes to the overall appearance of it. But at the same time, the paint application looks pretty fun. The sculpt is definitely highly outdated. I don't know how long ago this figure came out, but it's definitely been a few years, and you can tell that throughout the sculpt looking really outdated. It almost looks childish, kind of, when it comes to the head sculpt. It really does not look Giganotosaurus-ish at all. But I am still interested. Anytime a Giganotosaurus figure comes out, I'm definitely interested, so let's go ahead and get a closer look. So you can see, looking around here at the head sculpt of the Giganotosaurus, it's got some very large sculpt work and detail. It's really not the most nicely detailed figure, that's for sure. It's not really detailed very well at all, actually. It has a very old school Bullyland style when it comes to the sculpting of the skin texture to it. It has nice paint application, though, I will say that, and something that is really cool that you don't see too often even nowadays is there's kind of a gloss when it comes to the paint of the nostrils, which is something that I really love when companies do, because it just adds an extra bit of realism that you don't get very often. So that is definitely a huge plus as far as that goes. And if you look at that eye, look at how terrible that is. The eye placement and paint application just looks god-awful. I think the figure could have looked okay if it weren't for these eyes just being really, really bad. I almost want to just touch the eyes up a little bit and then maybe the figure will look alright, but I hate taking something that is original and altering it. I really like to keep my stuff the way it is if it's not something I'm repainting, but these eyes are so bad that I may just have to do it. The eyes themselves appear to have like an orange type color and then black for the pupil, but the orange is just all over the place, and the black, as far as the eye goes, is huge and also really sloppily painted and applied. There's also kind of a chip as far as the paint goes up here on the top of one of these areas of the crest right there, which shouldn't be there as well. The jaw is articulated, and you can see that the paint application and sculpt looks pretty nice as far as the inside of the mouth goes. Fairly realistic coloration in there, some nice detailing that is in there. The tongue looks pretty good as well, and the jaw actually does work pretty nicely as far as that goes, so that is definitely a plus. The teeth look okay. They're pretty big and bulky, almost Schleich-like, but they don't look that bad, and they're not really sloppily painted for the most part. They definitely have a fairly decent appearance to them, so it's got a little bit of a good side and a good bit of a downside when it comes to the eye. In the general face area, I do love the coloration of this orange and then this yellow on the inside of the palette, and then of course this dark coloration around the eye. I really think that the colors they chose for the head do look really quite nice, even if there are a few areas of sloppiness on the head sculpt. If you take a look at the top of the head, you can see almost an armored type of an appearance on the top of the head, and then you transition to this green coloration here in the neck, and it kind of has these like bumps that run along the animal, almost Carnotaurus-like, that run the entire length of the dinosaur. They're a yellowish color here, but then they change to a white here in the second half. It's a little bit strange, I'm not sure why they do that, but it still does give it some nice color variation, which is a plus. The sculpt work of the scales and everything look pretty much the same all over the place. It kind of reminds me of the Allosaurus that I had reviewed previously from Bullyland that had a very strong walking with dinosaurs type of an appearance to it. Has that same similar style as far as the skin texture goes. You can see some wrinkling in the lower part of the throat here. As you get back into the shoulder blade is protruding from the skin a little bit there. Very nice musculature all over the shoulder area. You get down here into the hands, and the detail of the arms and everything looks okay. It doesn't look terrible. They look alright. The nails are pretty nicely painted. There's not much as far as muscle tone or anything in the arms, but as you get back up here into the body, you can see that the skin texture does change a little bit here in the stomach region, and it doesn't look that bad. It definitely looks a little better, I think, than this weird scaling that they've kind of done all over the rest of the body. You can also pick up on some nice wrinkling of the skin here in the joint of the hip area. Nice muscle tone here in the thigh. And then you get down into the leg. You can see some slight musculature there in the calf, but not too much. He kind of has a puny, weak-looking leg sculpt, sort of. I'm not sure why. It's kind of humorous to me. The foot looks alright. You've got some nicely painted nails there. Again, they're painted with a brown, which is something you don't see too often, but it's a dark brown, so it looks pretty decent. The paint really beautifully transitions from that green down into this light brown, and you can also see quite a few variations of color as far as the green goes. It kind of gets lighter and darker in certain areas, so they have done a pretty decent job as far as skin tone goes. Then as you run out the length of the tail, you can see lots of creases and wrinkles all throughout the tail. Those bumps continue the entire length of the tail as it comes out to a very nice curve, potentially a realistic curve. Then as you look at this side, again, the sculpt and detail is pretty much the same as you saw on the other side. You see the very large shoulder blade there, and you come down into the arms. The arm is kind of in a weird position as far as that hand goes, almost a very unnatural position, with it kind of being bent to the palm facing outward, which is very weird. But the skin texture again has that same similar style to it pretty much everywhere. You've got some nice wrinkling of the skin here, some skin folding in the stomach region there, kind of showing the skin bunching up as this leg is pushing into the body. Nice muscle tone here in the thigh. Again, the somewhat puny looking calf muscles of this side. The feet look pretty nice though, once again. Large dew claws back here. They do look pretty big as far as the toe goes. And then you can see some more wrinkling going on up here in the tail. As you run out the length of the tail, it has that same style as the other side, same look to that nice curve. The underside also sports some decent detail, but nothing over the top. It really does actually look quite nice on the underside. And I do like the coloration, how it transitions to that orange reddish type color on the face. It does have a beautiful appearance, but just the sculpt itself isn't really that great. So as far as a size goes, on the Bullyland Giganotosaurus, if we go from the tip of the tail to the face, you are looking at about 12¼ inches or about 31½ centimeters. For a height, the highest point would probably be the tail, actually, because his head's down a little bit. So we'll go to the top of the tail. You're looking at about 4¾ inches or about 12 centimeters. If we measure to the top of the head, you'd see it come in at about almost 4½ inches or about 11 centimeters, almost 11½. For a size comparison, there is the Papo T-Rex, and you should actually be able to get a pretty good idea that this Giganotosaurus is a sizable figure. It's really quite long and definitely has some good size to it in comparison to the Papo Rex, who is a pretty big figure himself. This Giganotosaurus fares quite well. Again, it's not exactly the size that it would be compared to a Rex. It's not in scale to the green Papo Rex, but it does help to give you a good idea that it is a fairly decently sized figure. So overall, I think it looks okay-ish, kind of cartoony, sort of with the appearance. It's got some decent detail and sculpt. It's definitely not that bad. I think sadly the worst part as far as the sculpt goes would be the head and face area, because the skin texture of the face looks kind of weird to me. But the actual body itself has some decent detail, maybe somewhat muted by today's standards, but it's still not that bad. The paint application looks pretty natural, definitely some decent coloration. I do like the green and the orange type reddish coloration on the face. I think they blend well together and definitely have a very nice and natural appearance to them, and they look good together. I do also like that it tapers off to a lighter brown for the legs, arms, and underbelly. That also does look pretty nice. The eyes, again, are terrible as far as the placement of the paint application. They do have a nice gloss to them. What black paint you can see that's not sloppily placed all over. Specifically on the right side, I think you could see a lot better of the eye placement compared to the left. So if I were to display this guy, it would probably be with the right side facing out, as the left side is really bad when it comes to the eye placement. But again, it's got a pretty appealing looking appearance to it, just not really so much a Giganotosaurus type look. The head sculpt really doesn't look like Giganotosaurus to me, but I think the rest of the body is okay-ish, sort of. Again, it just has kind of a cartoonish type of an appearance to it. However, with a repaint, some of these figures definitely look really good. If you ever happen to watch Catherine's Dinoversum, I think that's how you say it actually, her repaint of this figure is actually stellar and shows that this figure can still look really nice if it's painted in a more realistic way and a better way. Again, this paint application looks okay, but if you are interested in looking at this figure repainted and looking really beautiful, you check out her channel. You'll definitely be impressed because it really does look quite beautiful with a nice paint application on it. But again, this thing looks alright. It's just not really that great as far as Giganotosaurus goes. But at least it is a Giganotosaurus figure, which is a plus because there aren't too many of them out there. So if you do want to buy this, I will try to find a link if there is any left on everythingdinosaur.com. Check the description, go buy this Giganotosaurus if you are interested, but before you do that, don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.